Sean here, owner of Rain or Shine Golf, and we are going to answer the #1 question that we get asked to our Sim Squad team, and that is, what size room do you need for a golf simulator? Three-parter here. Obviously, you have 3 dimensions in a space. We have ceiling height to consider, we have the width, and we have the depth or the length of the space. So in this video, we're going to address each of those 3 individually. Lots of variables, lots of considerations that we'll address, and hopefully it helps you make a decision. So let's dive in. First off, ceiling height. So we're here today in a garage to talk about ceiling height. Garage is going to be about 50% of the inquiries that we get, just mainly because the ceiling height is there. And it's a natural spare room to be able to put a golf simulator in. So first thing that you need to consider, and this sounds obvious, but it comes up way more than you would expect. Can you swing a driver in that space? A lot of people will say 9-foot ceilings is fine. It's so different. I'm 6'4". Can I swing in this space? I mean, the ceilings are 12 feet high. Of course I can. I can't swing a driver 9 feet. And the last thing we want you to do is test this out and think, yeah, I'm good with the flat follow through. And then you're altering your swing in the future. Don't want that to happen. So, I mean, 10 feet is kind of a rule of thumb that we follow, but make sure that you're comfortable swinging the driver in the space and it doesn't feel like an issue at all. You feel confident you're not going to hit anything. Again, sounds obvious. You wouldn't believe how much it comes up. Next up, we've got some variables to consider. So one, how tall is the enclosure going to be? That's your kind of nuts and bolts. If you're going with an 8-foot tall enclosure, obviously you need an 8-foot ceiling. Is the enclosure that you have in mind going to fit in that space? In this case, there's some weird things going on too. So we have this beam for the garage door track. This is about 8'3". I'm left-handed. I don't think I would be able to swing a driver in this space, just being that I'd be falling through straight into that garage door track. In this case, we're gonna have a righty application, so that shouldn't be an issue. You'll be following through around it. Projector's gonna be on the floor, wouldn't be a problem. So things like soffits, these truss beams, garage door rails, you'll want to consider that obviously when deciding the comfort level of the swing. Last thing with the ceiling height is it too tall? So if you're going to go with a ceiling mounted launch monitor or a projector drop down from the ceiling, you're going to want those to be in the 9 to 10 foot range from the floor. Launch monitors will require that. Projectors, you want to be right about at that top bar of the enclosure itself. So in a 12-foot space like this, you're going to have to drop down the projector and a ceiling mounted launch monitor a good 3.5 to 4 feet to be able to get the most out of the space. And that's sometimes doable. 3 feet is very doable, but if you're in a warehouse with 25, 30-foot ceilings, that's much more difficult. So one more consideration there. Yeah, that should be it with ceiling height. We'll jump into some of the other aspects of the space. All right, next up we have the width of what would be needed for a golf simulator. Now in this situation, this turf is about 10 feet in width. You can see where our 10-foot SwingBay enclosure would end up going. Obviously, another variable here is, does the enclosure fit the width? Something you gotta say. Big consideration that most people don't think about with the width is, one, do you want to be center hitting? In most cases, that's going to be the most immersive experience. And in the case of overhead launch monitors or some radar devices, it's almost required. If you want to be center hitting, that width necessity gets a lot larger. You're getting into more of a 14-foot width versus 12. It's one thing to be able to stand right in this area and hit off to the left side of the screen versus hit off to the center, and all of a sudden you need this much more follow-through space. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. Kind of in line with the center hitting aspect is, are you going to have left-handed and right-handed golfers? If it's just one-sided and you can be center hitting, you can sort of skew that need over to the back half of the setup, and all of this won't matter. So in this application here, yes, I'm left-handed, but these rails don't become an issue for a center hitting setup as a right-handed player is swinging around it to this way. So typically we're going to recommend 12-foot width as a minimum. If you want a center hitting solution, that gets pretty tight. You're definitely going to want to be more towards the 14 feet width mark for the absolutely optimal center hitting experience. This situation here, this is about 10 feet of width. We're looking at positioning the SwingBay actually right between this cutout area, and that's going to allow it to have the necessary gapping behind it, which we'll get into when we talk about the depth right now. All right, last but not least here, we have considerations when looking at the depth requirements of a space. And this one is going to be driven mostly by the launch monitor that you're going with and any other, seating, do you need to park the car behind the setup, some other variables from that sense. So when I say launch monitor, I mean this. When you're dealing with a side view photometric launch monitor or an overhead launch monitor, the depth really isn't much of a consideration so long as you can swing comfortably in the space again. When you get into radar, most devices are going to need at least 8 feet behind the ball and 8 feet in front of the ball to see the traveling of that shot. So obviously do some simple math here. That's talking about 16 feet of depth just for the actual radar to screen. Then you're talking about, you want to build about a foot to 18 inches off of the wall so that your screen can absorb the impact of the ball and not hit the wall, not hit any concrete, not have any issues from bounce back from that standpoint. So when you're looking at a radar device, you're easily getting into the 17, 18 feet of depth range for a comfortable space. It can be done in less, but that's typically what we're going to be recommending. Yeah, that's the launch monitor consideration. Other than that, you're dealing mostly with your ancillary, ambiance of the space sort of thing. Do you want a couch back here that's permanent? Is the enclosure itself permanent? Do you want to park the car in? In this case here, hitting area is about 11 feet from where the screen is going to be. This application is going to have the car parking in this space, and the swing turf here just slides up a few feet. So it isn't a permanent setup. The bay will be permanent, but the turf is the one aspect that will move. And that's why this space, considering we only really have 12 feet to work with, is acceptable. So yeah, that's it for the depth. Just to kind of round this out, we'll show you, we're going to get the SwingBay application. It's been built here. We're going to slide this into place and show you, kind of why we made the decisions we did with putting the SwingBay where we did. Okay, so we've talked today about considerations with the ceiling height, width of the space, depth of the space. One thing that we forgot to mention in the last section of the video is the projector positioning, which is very critical. Depending on the type of projector that you select, that's going to be driving how far back it's going to be positioned from the screen. In a floor situation, short throw projector, this is a 10.5 foot wide enclosure. Short throw projector, it's about 6 feet back from the screen itself. If you're dealing with more of a 4K standard throw projector option, you're going to be way back in this area, and you'll want to consider that you could be casting shadows on the screen if that is positioned way in the back. Everything that we do at Rain or Shine, we're dealing with short throw projectors, either on the ceiling or on the floor, so that it is slightly in front of you. You're hitting, you can hit right over the top of the swing shield, you can hit over to the side of it, or it's mounted to the ceiling and is out of the way from the swing. So wanted to throw that in from the depth standpoint. Lastly, this is the decision we made for this space. In this garage, that little cutout section really worked well. We can push the frame back much further. Works out well for the space considering, I'm left-handed, but this is going to be a righty application. These garage door rails didn't have any issue at all. The 8 foot tall enclosure fits just underneath the garage rails, which is, fits like a glove. Yeah, so that's the decision that we made here. The car can be pulled in right off to the side, and you're looking here at a standard 2-car garage with 2 individual doors. So that's about an extra foot from typical. And you can very easily fit our 8x10 SwingBay enclosure package to build the sim of your dreams right in your garage. So I hope this helps answer the questions, and definitely like and subscribe the video if this helped, and stay tuned for more answers.